Welcome, Sophia. I'm so excited to have you as a guest today.
Hey, Lish, how you going?
Look, I would love to kind of get a bit of a picture for, I guess, the businesses that you've run, because you've had a lot of different iterations of your business over your career. Maybe do you want to give us a bit of an overview of your career as it stands at the moment?
Yeah, so I started as a massage therapist in doing remedial massage and was nursing at that time. This was about 5 years ago. And then from there, I went into structural integration, which is all about fascial work and posture. And that really helped me in particular. So I went into that and I was still casual nursing. And then I decided to, post-COVID, to kind of get into the clinic side of things and hire a few people. And then I decided to do a flip sort of in the last few months. And then now I'm back on my own. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but it's been, I've enjoyed the ride. So
I think that describes business in general, particularly over the last couple of years. A roller coaster. It goes up, it goes
yeah,
down. There's some roundabouts, there's some swings. It's kind of fun and it's kind of a little bit terrifying at the same time.
yep, yep.
All right. So tell us about. Can you share with us some of the challenges that you've experienced throughout your career?
I think the biggest challenge for me has been really getting honest with myself. Like I think, COVID has been hard and it's been the up and down, but I think trying to be as honest as possible has been my biggest challenge in business. So for me, I kind of did the thing that I thought was going to be successful. I thought that owning a clinic was the way to be successful. I thought that running a team was going to be successful. And I decided, well, and I got really honest with myself in the fact that that's not really what I wanted to do. I feel like I can serve more, be more of service when I'm on my own. And so running a team was fun and it was, I learned a lot, but really that's not where I want to be, at least now. And I think being honest with yourself involves allowing things to change. So maybe once I did enjoy the idea of having a clinic, but now it's really not something I want. And it might change in the future, I'm not sure, but I'm just sort of going with the flow on that one. So yeah.
And I think sometimes that we get into this profession, we have very set ideas of what we think we want and what we think of as successful. Like running a big clinic with staff and all that kind of stuff. And there is nothing wrong with that. Many people do it, and it is their level of success, and we say rock on. And I think sometimes it is important to have that honest conversation. Go, is this what I actually want? And that's tough. Like, what's it like for you when you find yourself in that kind of space of realizing, hang on, I'm not in Kansas anymore? Like, what do you do in that space for you?
For me, I fell apart. I felt like I was descending into, I guess you could call rock bottom. But for me, it was quite an enjoyable descent. Like I felt like it was easier once I surrendered to the fact that, this is just change and it's uncomfortable. And I think for me, it was really embracing my feminine flow and just being. And that was really difficult for me because I'd been, stuck in my doing kind of masculine energy. And so for me, I think the biggest thing was just, surrendering and falling apart and then enjoying the falling apart, and just unfolding instead of thinking it's the end of the world and, I'm going to die and all this stuff. Like I did have those thoughts, but they didn't linger for too long. So like you said, this roller coaster, trying to enjoy that moment of the up and down, the oscillating between, masculine, feminine and all that stuff. So yeah.
And I think that's probably like some people would be very familiar with masculine and feminine energy. Some people listening may not be. Just a quick overview is that masculine energy is very outcomes focused. It's very doing focused. It's about going, this is what I want and chasing after it. And it's very certain, which in business, we need that energy. It is vital. The feminine energy is more in flow. It's more nurturing. It's more healing. It's more intuitive, and it very much does surrender. The challenge is that sometimes we take masculine energy to what needs to be feminine energy, and we bring feminine energy when we need to have masculine energy. And the challenge, I don't know about the challenge, but the what we're looking for in business is how we do both. Like, how do we serve both parts of our personality? And we're not talking about gender here at all. This is just energy that comes through with what we're doing and how we be. And I think it is important to be able to have both and to understand the power of both and the unresourcefulness of both at times if we don't know how they're playing out. What has been the role for you in business of masculine and feminine energy?
So very early on, masculine, like I was too far in my masculine, like I very much focused on the outcomes and the doing. I would work as a nurse and then work in massage and 16-hour days, and very focused on getting clients and building my business and trying to learn as much as I could. But in terms of stopping and slowing down and nurturing and like myself, and it just wasn't on my radar. So I think that's how I've operated in my life, really. And it was really reflected in business, which is what business is a reflection of us, So I feel like I've really come from the hard, fast, masculine approach, which was too much in, like, I guess you could call it the toxic side, because it was too much. And then I've sort of fallen apart and I went too far into the feminine and got absolutely nothing done, which I had to sit with as well. So now I feel like I'm coming out of that, and I'm feeling like a bit more of a flow now, where I can be creative at times and I can get shit done sometimes, and I can flow between the two. And I know when I'm feeling too in my masculine, where I'm doing too much and I really need to slow down. And for me, it doesn't take long, 5 to 10 minutes of just breathing and dancing and just expressing is really, really good. So I feel like I'm getting there. It's still a process of balancing between doing and being, but it's much better than it used to be, more balanced.
And I think that's life. I think as a healer, as an intuitive healer, and as a business owner, it's going to be a dance between those two energies, and learning when it's resourceful and learning when it's not, and learning when it's resourceful for the business or for us, and figuring out what part of the dance floor needs to be danced upon at different points. For you, I guess, when you're in struggle, do you have any agreements that you make with yourself in that?
Yeah, I try and keep my non-negotiables are, meditating at least for 10 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, moving my body in some form. And so the agreements that I have with myself when I'm in struggle is to reflect, but not too much in my head. So yeah, meditating, breathing, and movement is my top three. And then, hopefully I get some form of good nutrition in there somewhere. But yeah, just trying to keep the basics under control. Yeah.
And how powerful is that? Because it's so easy when we're in struggle, when we're overwhelmed or feel like we've got one energy more than another and we know we need to shift it, to go, we push those really simple foundational things away is often our natural tendency, and to go, these are my not negotiables. I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to move my body. And just to be able to come back to those things is so powerful. And I have to say that is probably the most consistent thing I hear on this podcast, is people coming back to those foundational things, whatever it looks like for them. Everyone, it's different. Some people it's self-care, some people it's meditation or movement. However, everybody has something they come back to as their absolute must, even in the struggle. And I think that is what's really, really powerful. What do you get to learn about yourself when you're in struggle?
There's quite a lot. It depends on the struggle, I guess. But I am learning that the more I go into struggle, the less fun I have. And so if I can really keep that element of play and fun, the struggle doesn't seem as bad. So I can make things seem worse than they are, I think, as well. So really like reaching out for people that I trust, and like yourself and a few other people, to kind of reflect back to me what's really going on, and is it actually as bad as I think it is? So I feel like as I get that reflected back more, I'm more careful to, really reflect, is this as bad as I'm making it out to be for me? So, yeah.
It's like reality checking, and sometimes yes, it is. And sometimes, it's really not. It's actually really not. When I look at what I think, feel, and what I'm hearing inside, and then someone says, this is actual reality, and you're like, oh, we have a disconnect, like there is something we can do about this. And you've gone from remedial massage into structural integration. Maybe share what structural integration is for those who are unaware.
Yeah, so we work with the fascial system, so and we're anatomy trained, so that's developed by Tom Myers, and we look at posture and movement, and we treat the system, we treat the whole body rather than treating, particular aches and pains. So yeah, we look at like a holistic kind of whole body approach rather than specific areas of the body. Yeah.
Nice. And then you've gone into breath work. Do you want to share a little bit about how that came about and what that is?
Yeah, so for me, I had a lot of fascial work, which I still get myself, and it helps me just unwind some, emotions and, maybe energy that's stored in my body. So that's been really helpful body work wise. And that got me out of a lot of, pain and trauma. But then there was just still a missing piece for me. So I got into breath work with some people here in Adelaide, and I learnt Soma breath work, which is a form of rhythmic breathing. And then there's so many forms of breath work, but prolonged breath work for me was the next release that I felt like I needed, that really helped me move the energy. And if I can go into a process of emotion, if I'm feeling something in my body, I'm not quite sure what it is, then I can really seem to release it a lot quicker with breath. And it just completes the cycle rather than me staying in the story of the emotion. It tends to just really move it through me, which has been just the next level for me, the next step in all of my release and continuing to stay, energetically aligned. So, yeah.
And when you say sustained breath work, what does that look like for maybe someone who's going, I breathe in air, I breathe out CO2? I'm pretty sure we're all doing sustained breath work. Like, what does that mean in relation to what it is that you offer?
Yeah, so the Soma breathworks can be anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes. So it's breathing in and out rhythmically for a long extended period of time. And there's other breathworks, holotropic breathwork, which is it's more intense. So it's like maybe an hour worth of breathing, and you get a bit euphoric and you effectively hyperventilating, but it's actually really healing for the body. It's quite safe. And yeah, you just go into a process, and sometimes things will pop up during the breath. So breathing for that extended period of time, it's called breath work for a reason, because you kind of have to work for it. But the experiences and the release that happens after that, and during these breath works, there's people around you to support you. You're not alone, So that's been really, really profound.
So do you do breath work as a group then?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And is it like guided meditation? Like, I'm literally thinking for someone who's going, I've got no idea I have an understanding myself, because obviously I've experienced it with you, but I'm thinking for those that are going, when you breathe together, how does this work? Like, describe literally what happens in one of those events.
Yeah. So we might start with some breathing with some calm music. We might start more in, like a 2 seconds in, 4 seconds out. And then we might go to a 4-4 timing, and you just keep breathing. And if at any point people feel like they are getting a little bit tingly, a little bit dizzy, they just come back to the normal breath. So you're in total control throughout the whole time. But we're breathing rhythmically to the music. So your heart and your breath are kind of in rhythm. Your whole body starts to become in rhythm. And then after sort of 5 to 10 minutes, you might start to feel a little bit tingly, a little bit, out of body. Emotions might start to rise, you might just feel happy and euphoric. And then we calm the system down with some extra breaths of like long extended exhales. So it's kind of incorporating rhythm and flow and music with the breath. So your body's all sort of connected. You're connecting all of the senses. So
That's amazing. And then, and this is totally off topic, but hey, you're with me now, so why not? You also then add in ice baths, and I know this because I got to experience one due to my husband asking if you would run one of these sessions for us with our clients when we were over in Adelaide. How does that kind of fit in? Yes, I'm talking about actually a pool that Sophia set up for us with like 10 bags of ice, and James and I got in and continued the breath work in the ice bath, which actually wasn't anywhere near as painful as going into the ocean here in Ocean Grove. So it was an amazing experience. But how do you kind of link the ice bath thing? How does that work?
So yeah, when we experience extremes, like an ice bath or something super cold, like going into the ocean in the middle of winter, you can actually control how your nervous system reacts to that through the breath. So when you start to breathe, you realize that the painful sensations are really just sensations around your body. So breath work is a really great way to deal with those kind of stressful situations. And we put ourselves in stressful situations all the time, but we don't really prepare for them. So I think for me, ice baths are preparing for those stressful times, and for anyone who's had any kind of trauma or anything like that, and it's kind of stuck in their body, to put yourself knowingly into an ice bath, you can start to breathe and move, and realize that it's okay. You are safe, and you might do it for 2 minutes, and you come out of it, and it's in a sense of achievement, and you've kind of down-regulated your body just simply by breathing, and people around you supporting you. So there's something special about group ice baths. They tend to release a lot, and you just have a little bit more self confidence, and the nervous system has had a bit of a stressful time, and you've been able to regulate it. So
Yeah, and it was kind of magical. I think we had 20 of us down there on the beach in Adelaide, having this ice bath and experiencing this thing. And even those who didn't participate in the ice bath were actively participating in the breathing and just being there with everyone, even going in the water, even if they hadn't had the ice bath.
yeah.
And the bond and the connection that we felt in the room after that was absolutely out of this world. Like such a powerful, because everyone was in their body, everybody was connected, and we were all there to support one another through that experience. It was like nothing I had ever experienced, and so incredibly beautiful.
Yeah. And down at the beach, and then you can submerge yourself in Mother Nature in the water afterwards. So yeah, there's something about going in knowingly to, I guess, a traumatic event, or like a high stimulus, high stress together, and then kind of working your way out of it. I don't know, together. It's really deep connection, basically. So
yeah, it was really deep connection, and I think it's interesting you say that. It's like we don't prepare for traumatic situations. Well, theoretically, we shouldn't have to. And, in this world, we're going to be confronted with stuff that is not meant to have happened, and yet still does.
yeah.
And I know you're familiar with books like The Body Keeps the Score, and how our body holds trauma in it when we've experienced it, whether it is physical trauma like a car accident or something like that, or emotional trauma from relationships that weren't safe or healthy, or growing up, loads of different ways that we can unfortunately experience trauma. And a lot of our clients come to us with the tip of the iceberg, which is, oh, I hurt my neck on the weekend. And then beneath the surface of that is so much more that often they're completely unaware of, which is where things like breath work and structural integration and energy work can be so powerful to help people become aware of what's actually trapped in there and allow it to be released. I think to have that awareness, and then first of all, they say healer, heal thyself. First of all, we have to do our own work, because then we can hold the space for other people to be able to do their work. How do you approach the subject of trauma with your clients? Like, does it just naturally come up in conversation? Like, how do you approach that, especially if someone is coming in because they've hurt their back on the weekend? I say that in inverted commas because that's the kind of, or the weekend warrior or something like that. How do you go from whatever they're telling you to then having that deeper level conversation?
Yeah, so the first thing for me is to always develop a strong rapport and connection with that client. There has to be such a level of trust with anyone that is going to open up to you. And so if there is any kind of underlying trauma or, emotional things that are going on for the client, you really need to create that safe space first. So I always try and get as much detail as I can about what was happening around the time of the injury, or what's going on at work and what's going on in family life. And sometimes you don't need specific things, but you might just start to get them to realize how much maybe they're carrying at the moment. So particularly if it's a back strain or anything like that through the spine, there's usually a lot of pressure outside. Now, whether that's from work or family pressures or anything like that. And so I have a really strong connection with clients first before I start to dive into anything deeper. But they really start to trust that your stuff, because like you said, I've done a lot of healing myself, and I feel like I can hold that space because I've witnessed and I've met those depths of myself, and I've met that trauma, and I've met that healing, and I've sort of done it, and what works for me might not work for anyone else. I'm definitely aware of that, but giving them ideas and helping them think differently about their body is very helpful when dealing with trauma, because some people don't actually recognize that it's trauma in their body. They might think that something that happened was not a traumatic event. However, it's displaying and it's manifesting in their body as pain. So, yeah.
The body knows what it's doing, and it does kind of, it's such an incredible indicator to what is happening on a deeper level when we tap into that. And not every practitioner loves that, and that's okay. Not every practitioner listening to this will be like, yeah, they'll be like, what the hell is weird ass, crazy woo woo. But it's actually not. The science is backing up more and more the way that our cells store this stuff and is capable of releasing it, which I think is also important, because we do talk about, it's almost like we have to prove that there's trauma there, and sometimes we can forget about, and the purpose to understanding is the awareness creates the possibility of a different choice. So when we become aware of it, we can breathe it out, or we can move it out, or we could do, one of my girlfriends does trauma yoga, and there are so many different, there's Reiki, there is massage, there's counseling, there's talk therapy, there's like CBT, there's so many different ways that we can outwork this stuff. We don't have to live with that pain, and we don't have to live with the physical or the emotional pain that trauma can sometimes trap us in. Knowing what you know now, what would you change or do differently in either throughout your journey, whether it's your healing journey or your business journey? Is there anything that you would do differently knowing what you know now?
I'd probably have more fun. I think the only thing I feel like I've done is not been able to be in the fun and the play of it. I think it's been a very serious kind of, especially in business. I think, especially in the last 3 years, it's felt really serious, and I feel like there's elements of fun that we can take from any moment. And so I think if I could speak to my younger self, I'd say have more fun.
It's good advice. It's good advice. And I guess, what's the greatest impact that you've had on the world because of what you've experienced?
I think I'm really great at holding space for anything that really comes through in my clients, and even my family and stuff like that. I can really help them just be with whatever's there. There's no kind of shaming or blaming any emotion that comes up now. But I really feel that that's only happened in the last sort of 12 to 18 months for me, because I've done extra healing. And once we can meet an emotion like deeply within ourselves, and we can actually process that emotion that may be underlying there, we can really just help people feel that, you don't have to change it. You don't have to shift it. And sometimes people just need that. They just need to be held in that moment where they don't feel like they need to be anyone different or do anything differently. They just need to sit with it, because otherwise that emotion will linger, and it might not be able to be processed. So I feel like I'm really great at that, and I don't think I would have been able to hold that space, had I not done the breath and the facial work. So
yeah, which is so amazing and so incredibly powerful when we can. Like, it's just not bringing judgment to whatever it is. As we say sometimes, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just so. You're not your feelings, what's coming up for you, it just is.
Yeah.
And often we do have a tendency to bring our stuff with it when we respond or react to somebody in struggle. And I think you're right, it's our ability to sit in our own stuff and just be okay with it, wobbly bits and all, as one of our beautiful mentors says, as I'm wobbling my old lady arms, like wobbly bits and all, that when we can sit with our wobbly bits, when someone then presents their wobbly bits, it's like, oh, cool, you've got them too. And often it's we won't share that stuff because it's our fear of judgment. It's a fear, what will other people think? So we hide it and we put it away. And I think when we can just kind of sit in it with somebody, particularly with our clients, it comes from us doing our own work to be able to meet them where they're at, because we've cleared our stuff, or we are clearing our stuff out of the way as it comes up, to be able to move through. Sophia, thank you so much for your time today. I think this is such a beautiful conversation to be able to share with our listeners. And I know that many of them, from the feedback we get, are going to be going, yeah, like we're going to be preaching to the choir, which is fantastic. And if this stuff is new to you, then by all means, go and check out some breath work in your local area and, have a crack at an ice bath or something crazy like that. I am not an ice bath girl. I don't like the cold that much. It's why I holiday in Queensland. However, it was such an amazing experience just to get outside my comfort zone and do something entirely different. So yeah, thank you so much for your time today, Sophia.
All right, thank you.